we all know that as software engineers move up in experience, they end up having a decision to make whether they want to be a software architect or they want to be a product manager and project manager and a product owner. So, can you guys share what is it that product managers do and project managers do in today's time where there is so much technology change going on, there is so much innovation happening? And what is it that you guys do, and what is it that your teams do in your organizations?
To Rajat's point, I've played all three, and all three of them are very important in their own respect, but fundamentally they are different. So I started off as a software engineer, moved on to technical product management, and did that for a number of years before kind of switching over to program management. And I think if we speak primarily between product and program, fundamentally there are a few differences, although there is also a lot of overlap. So let me kind of focus on the differences first. I think if you take a look at it, uh, a product manager or a product owner goes. So I'll continue with that answer. So fundamentally, the product owners have to really think through from a customer's perspective, as well as be really deep into either the domain or the industry that they're in. Specifically, domain industries usually are too wide. On the other hand, think of a program manager as a chief operating officer. The playing field is pretty wide. You do need to understand not just the depth, but the width. Width is more important than depth. Depth is important to a degree. Is looking at it this way. If you're a program manager, you want to hover over a forest. You don't want to be down in the trees because you're going to lose the bigger picture. You need to have the bigger picture. And I think these are some of the fundamental differences. Of course, being able to champion the customer's cause comes down to every employee of any company. At the end of the day, everybody's working towards that. If you don't have a customer, no matter what you do, it's not the same thing, right? So in general, these are the fundamental, some of the points. Obviously, that we could go on and on this topic itself, but some of the points I wanted to bring out.
That's a very good point, Karan. I totally agree. So, Kriti, what do you think? What's your 2 cents?
Absolutely, Sachin. I definitely agree with a lot of things that Karan said. My experience has primarily been in product management, and I can say this much that the product manager is essentially the owner of the product, right? He's responsible for the product, and one of the key things that this person does is become the voice of the customer. So I think from a responsibility standpoint, the product manager's role is specifically around identifying the opportunities in the market and being that voice for the customer, understanding who is this customer, what do they need, what are their most important requirements, or what are their pain points, and being able to translate those into requirements, ensuring that the problem that they're solving is indeed a valid problem to be solved, ensuring that, as well as designing a solution that will fit the needs of the customer as well. So I think their focus is primarily more on the customer and not just identifying their needs, but also finding out ways that they can meet those needs as well, and making sure they're prioritizing the specific aspects of their needs, because there could be a billion things that a customer could want. So, to put it briefly, I think at the end of the day, the product manager is really the voice of the customer. He's representing the
Yeah, I
customer.
totally agree. That's a very good point too as well. At the same time, Monica, I know you are a project manager. So, what do you think about the question?
I agree with what Kriti and Karan said. The only different point I have is, in addition to what they said, that when you are a product manager, focus on solving and resolving, versus when you are a project manager, you want to understand the, the pain points in a holistic view and understand the strategy of the whole holistic product as well. And that product managers also do the same thing. I think the only difference in my company, I have seen, because we are doing both waterfall and agile in AT&T right now. The product managers are mostly working on the agile projects. And like Kriti said, owner of the projects, the product, and understanding everything. And on the waterfall side, and they have Scrum Masters there, and on the waterfall side, we have project managers and program managers, where we have business analysts who do the requirement and elicitation and all of that. But as a project manager, what we do is we go to the meetings with business and we understand the holistic view, and then we make a strategy how and what we can achieve, keeping in mind the cost and timelines and things like that.
I just also want to add to what Monica just said and kind of expand the scope a little bit to share that the product manager is also responsible for setting the vision of the product too, right? Where is this product going to be going down the road? Not just for now, but in the future, right? As well as identifying how are you going to be actually measuring the success of this product, right? Building a product is one thing and putting it out there is another, but how do you truly know that this product has been successful, that you have actually met the needs that you set out to meet to begin with? So I think that's also a key aspect of what a product manager needs to do. But I think underneath it all, one of the most important aspects that a product manager brings to the table is being empathetic with the customers, understanding their needs, putting themselves in their shoes, and also being empathetic towards the business as well as their own team, the team that they're working with, right?
Talent. What are the top 3 skills in this environment, in this fast-moving environment, that you look for when you get a resume or a person that you are trying to interview in the product manager, project management team in that, under that pyramid? What are the top 3 things that you look for when you get a resume?
It's going to be hard to say top 3 things, and I'm going to talk in generalities because every role is very has its nuances. But overall, I always look at where they were at. Were they at a big company, and what company I'm coming for? So, for example, if it's a startup company, like my company right now, it may be a startup company, then this person background should be able to move things very quickly. It may not be so matrixed environment, and so it's somebody coming from a really large organization coming into what I do, they might be in shock. So those kind of things, as far as context, as far as exposures, I really differentiate the different what experience and exposure is. Somebody can have 10 years, 15 years of experience. They can have really strong experience as a project manager, but let's say that was in a private sector versus a public sector, or vice versa, or coming from a financial institution versus technology and Amazon. So understanding the context and the exposure that this person has had. So in a startup company, if they probably had exposure to everything, but probably couldn't deep dive as much. And I'm saying this in generality, whereas a larger company, you're kind of siloed in an area. You do it over and over and over again. You become an expert. You might rotate to another role and then do it over and over and become an expert. But seeing the whole process and seeing things out of the box is you're probably not going to get that exposure unless you level up and gain those responsibilities. So that's another area that we always look for. Another area is solving complex problems, having wins under their belt. Somebody that has actually resolved something, and what did they learn from it? All the behavioral questions that we would typically ask and find evidence in the background. So bringing that evidence to the front and making it very clear is important. Another area is also how well you influenced and led and was able to deal with a complex situation and still be on time, on budget, or maybe not even on time, on budget, but it ended up to be a better product. So different ways to cost cut, different ways to whether it's features, to speed up the program, things like that's going to be really important. And of course, how people. At the end of the day, references are really important. Your references because everything's in social media, there's always backdoor references going around whenever I'm looking at somebody at a more senior level, especially, or a management level. We start checking the references, not just for those that they reported to closely, but cross-functionally, and also those that reported to them. In fact, I'm a big believer, if I'm hiring a leader, a manager, or an influencer, we need to talk to people that are not necessarily the management that gets all the visibility with this person, but also how they dealt with their cross-functional peers. And
work with the team, what I look for is a collaborative person. It doesn't matter for me. So if the job profile says 5 to 7 years, and even if the person has 4 years of experience and is collaborative and is a person who will fit into my current team, I will consider that. And I mean, definitely somebody who is ready to learn. I have come across so many people, I cannot tell you, comes with 7-10 years of experience, but they are so rigid in doing the work that is placed in front of them. Sometimes they feel it's too small for them, and they don't want to do certain work. That's not how a project team would work. In my project team would work, unless it's a dev person and they have to have a certain tool knowledge. Even if they don't have a knowledge as a product owner or or a scrum master, if they don't have a certain experience on a couple of other skills, I would still consider them, because having that team who can talk to each other and collaborate and understand each other is much more important than having all the skills that are written on the paper, at least in my team.
I'll try to keep it short, guys. Brilliant question, Rajat. I think at the end of the day, the way I want everybody to think, at least that's what I tell everybody, is look, what you work on will change, and it will change often. The industry is pretty fast. Things change. Next day you wake up, things have changed. What doesn't change that often is who you work with. So be very careful when it comes to joining a company, joining a team, changing your career. And when you give an interview, the way I look at it is it's a two-way street. It's not the company or the hiring manager interviewing the candidate. It should be looked as, I am also interviewing this company, and the way I'm interviewing this company is by talking to this representative from that company who probably is the hiring manager or somebody from the panel. So that's super important. You want to wake up every morning and feel good about working with people, especially now. It's not just about meeting people in person, right? It's most of the work is done on calls, on video calls, and you want to be comfortable with who you work with. So I think that's extremely important. Having said that, I think from a perspective of skill set, hard skills can be taught. You don't have domain knowledge, that's fine, I'll teach you. If somebody is coming into PayPal, especially in the area that I work in, 99.9% sure they will not have the expertise. I will have to teach, because everything is in-house. We don't use anything from the market just because it doesn't exist. Nobody does 32 million transactions a day in real time. Period. So keeping all of these things in mind, soft skills are something that are hard to change. You can't change who a person is very easily. Keep those things in mind. And I think take chances on people. You'll mostly have a better experience than you think you will. I'll end my thoughts or musings with that. Rajat.
Thank you so much, guys. I know we all have to run. It's 11 o'clock. Thank you for putting this together, Sachin. And thank you, guys, for pulling out time from your busy schedules and coming over.